I will never forget the exact moment my sister Patricia looked my 10-year-old son Jake directly in the eyes and said those words. We were sitting around her dining room table with 12 family members for Thanksgiving dinner. The turkey sat golden brown in the center, surrounded by all the traditional sides. Jake had been so excited all morning talking about spending time with family and showing everyone the turkey drawing he made at school. When he reached for a slice of turkey, Patricia grabbed his small wrist and said clearly, loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Sweetheart, Thanksgiving turkey is for family." The room went completely silent. Some relatives chuckled nervously. I felt my entire world stop as I watched my son's face crumble with confusion and hurt. I calmly stood up, took Jake's trembling hand in mine, and said simply, "Let's go, buddy." We walked out in complete silence while my family sat frozen at that dinner table, not knowing they had just triggered the most expensive lesson of their lives. 3 years ago, my world collapsed when my wife Sarah died in a head-on collision with a drunk driver on Interstate 75. Jake was only 7 then, and watching him try to understand why mommy wasn't coming home anymore broke something inside me that I'm still trying to repair. The grief counselor said children need stability and family support during traumatic loss, so I made the decision to move back to my hometown of Marysville, Ohio. I thought being close to my parents and Patricia would give Jake the extended family love he needed to heal. That was my first mistake. I work remotely in software sales for a tech company based in Austin. The pay is excellent, especially with my commission structure, but I've always kept my financial situation private. When Patricia and her husband Roger were struggling with their mortgage 2 years ago, she came to me crying about losing their dream home. She painted this picture of financial disaster, showing me past due notices and talking about Roger's job instability. Against every instinct I had, I agreed to co-sign their mortgage refinancing. The monthly payment was $2,800, and within 6 months they stopped making payments entirely. I've been covering their mortgage for 18 months now. $50,400 of my money has kept Patricia's house from foreclosure, and she's never once expressed genuine gratitude. Instead, she's developed this pattern of treating Jake like an outsider, making subtle comments about him not being real family since Sarah passed. I noticed it at birthday parties, Christmas gatherings, and family barbecues. Little exclusions that seemed innocent to everyone else but cut deep into a grieving child's heart. Jake started asking me questions that no 10-year-old should have to ask. "Dad, why does Aunt Patricia always forget to save me cake?" Or, "How come I'm the only one who doesn't get invited to cousin sleepovers?" I made excuses, told him adults sometimes act thoughtlessly, convinced myself that Patricia would eventually warm up to him. I was protecting the wrong person. The morning of Thanksgiving, Jake spent an hour coloring a turkey drawing for Patricia. He used every crayon in his box, writing, "Happy Thanksgiving, Aunt Patricia," in his careful 4th-grade handwriting. He was so proud, showing me how he made the turkey's feathers rainbow-colored and drew little hearts around the border. "She's going to love it, Dad," he said with that innocent confidence that only children possess. We arrived at Patricia's house at 2 in the afternoon, the house I've been paying for. She greeted me with her usual fake enthusiasm, but barely acknowledged Jake beyond a quick head pat. Her in-laws were there, along with my parents, 2 cousins with their families, and Roger's brother. 12 adults, 4 children, and 1 little boy who just wanted to belong. Patricia had been drinking wine since noon. I could tell by the way she got louder with each conversation, more animated in her storytelling. She kept making these passive-aggressive comments about people who don't contribute, and family members who expect everything handed to them. My parents looked uncomfortable, but nobody said anything. Roger just nodded along like the spineless yes man he's always been. Jake tried so hard to fit in. He helped carry dishes, complimented Patricia's cooking, and showed his drawing to anyone who would look. Most of the family was polite, but I could see the invisible wall Patricia had built around him. She never included him directly in conversations, never asked about his school or interests, never treated him like the nephew he was supposed to be. When dinner was served, Jake sat between me and my father. He was excited about the turkey, telling Grandpa about the Native American unit they studied in school. As the platters were passed around, Jake reached across to serve himself some turkey. That's when Patricia's true colors exploded. She grabbed his wrist hard enough to leave marks. "Sweetheart," she said in that condescending tone adults use when they want to humiliate children publicly, "Thanksgiving turkey is for family." The emphasis she put on that last word made her meaning crystal clear. Jake wasn't family in her eyes. He was an intruder, a charity case, an unwanted reminder of his dead mother. The silence that followed was deafening. Jake's face went through about 5 different emotions in 10 seconds. Confusion first, then hurt, then embarrassment, then anger, then this horrible resignation that told me this wasn't the first time she'd made him feel unwanted. Some of my relatives actually chuckled, thinking this was some kind of joke. My mother gasped quietly. My father's jaw tightened. Roger stared at his plate like a coward. I've never felt rage like that in my entire life. Pure, white, hot fury that made my vision blur and my hands shake. But looking at my son's devastated face, I knew that exploding would only make his humiliation worse. I stood up slowly, placed my napkin on the table, and took Jake's hand. "Let's go, buddy," I said, keeping my voice steady and calm. As we walked toward the door, I heard Patricia's voice behind us, slightly slurred from wine. "Maybe now he'll learn his place. Sarah's gone, and that kid isn't really our blood anyway." That was the moment I decided my sister was about to learn exactly how expensive cruelty could be. The drive home from Patricia's house was the longest 23 minutes of my life. Jake sat in the back seat, still clutching his rainbow turkey drawing, crying those quiet tears that children cry when they're trying to be brave. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, watching his small shoulders shake and feeling my heart shatter into smaller pieces with each sob. "Dad," he finally whispered, his voice so small I could barely hear him over the engine. What did I do wrong? I pulled into our driveway and turned to face him. His eyes were red and puffy, his cheeks streaked with tears, and that damned turkey drawing was crumpled in his fists. "You didn't do anything wrong, Jake. Not one single thing." "Then why doesn't Aunt Patricia like me? Why did she say I'm not family?" How do you explain adult cruelty to a 10-year-old? How do you tell a child that some people's hearts are so small they can't make room for a grieving nephew? I unbuckled my seatbelt and climbed into the back seat next to him, pulling him into the tightest hug I could manage. "Some people don't know how to love the right way," I said, feeling inadequate and furious and heartbroken all at once. "That's their problem, not yours." That weekend was a nightmare. Jake refused to eat the turkey leftovers I'd brought home, saying turkey reminded him of being unwanted. I found his beautiful drawing in the kitchen trash can, torn into little pieces. When I tried to tape it back together, he asked me not to. "She didn't want it anyway, Dad. Just like she doesn't want me." Sunday night, he crawled into my bed like he used to do after nightmares following Sarah's death. "Dad, am I not really family? Is that why Mom left?" The question hit me like a physical blow. My 10-year-old son was connecting his aunt's rejection to his mother's death, wondering if he was somehow unworthy of being loved or staying. I spent 2 hours explaining the difference between death and abandonment, between accidents and choices, between unconditional love and conditional acceptance. But I could see the damage was done. Patricia's words had planted seeds of doubt in his mind about his own worth. Monday morning brought the phone call that would change everything. Patricia called at 8:15, her voice bright and cheerful, like nothing had happened. "Dwayne, I hope you and Jake enjoyed the leftovers. Listen, I'm running a little short this month, and the December mortgage payment needs to be in early because of the holidays. Can you transfer it by Friday instead of the usual date? Samsu." I sat in my home office staring at my laptop screen, listening to my sister ask for money after humiliating my son. Not a word of apology. Not even acknowledgement that anything had happened. just a request for more financial support from the man whose child she'd just emotionally destroyed. Also, she continued, apparently taking my silence as agreement, I was thinking you could host Christmas dinner this year since you have the bigger kitchen and the good job. I'll make a list of what we need, but I figure you can cover the costs since money isn't really an issue for you. That's when I realized Patricia didn't see me as her brother. She saw me as her personal ATM. She'd been using me for 18 months, taking my money while treating my son like garbage. And now she wanted me to finance her holiday celebrations too. I spent my lunch break doing research that made my blood boil. I drove through Patricia's neighborhood and saw the new Lexus in her driveway, the same Lexus she'd bought 3 months after I started paying her mortgage. I checked social media and found photos of their vacation to Myrtle Beach, their new patio furniture, their kitchen renovation with granite countertops and stainless steel appliances, all purchased with the financial freedom my mortgage payments had given them. I called the mortgage company and discovered something that sent me into orbit. Say, Roger had gotten a promotion 6 months ago that came with a $25,000 signing bonus and a 40% salary increase. They were making more money than ever, but they'd never mentioned this to me. They were letting me pay their bills while they lived like kings. That afternoon, I picked Jake up from school and found him sitting alone at the pickup area while other kids played on the playground. His teacher, Mrs. Henderson, approached my car with a concerned expression. Mr. Williams' Jake seemed distracted today. When we talked about what we're thankful for, he said he was thankful that some people show their true faces so you know who not to trust. That's pretty mature thinking for a 4th grader. I looked at my son's sad face in the rearview mirror and made a decision that would cost Patricia everything she thought she was entitled to. That night, I checked my credit report for the first time in months, and what I found there launched me into a whole new level of fury. Patricia had opened a credit card in my name, $8,000 in debt for home renovations and luxury purchases, all charged to a card I never applied for, never received, and never knew existed. She'd been intercepting mail sent to my old address and had somehow gotten enough of my personal information to commit identity theft. My sister wasn't just using me, she was stealing from me. I sat in my office until midnight, documenting every financial transaction, every payment I'd made, every lie she'd told. $50,400 in mortgage payments, $8,000 in fraudulent credit card charges, 20 months of being treated like a wallet instead of a brother. And for what? So she could humiliate my grieving son at family dinner. The war was about to begin, and Patricia had no idea what she'd started. Tuesday morning, I called in sick to work and drove straight to downtown Columbus to meet with Mitchell Thompson and Associates, a law firm that specialized in financial fraud. Attorney Jennifer Carlisle reviewed my documentation with the thorough precision of someone who'd seen this pattern before. Identity theft mortgage fraud based on false income reporting and what appears to be systematic financial abuse, she said, spreading my paperwork across her mahogany desk. Mr. Williams, you have grounds for both criminal prosecution and civil recovery. The identity theft alone could result in 5 to 10 years in prison for your sister. I stared at the credit card statements showing charges at high-end furniture stores, luxury spas, and expensive restaurants. All while, Patricia cried poverty to my face and asked for mortgage money to keep food on the table. What are my options without destroying the entire family? I asked. Jennifer leaned back in her leather chair. You can withdraw from the mortgage co-signing agreement due to the fraudulent income information she provided. Since her financial representations were false, your obligation becomes void. You can also report the identity theft to freeze the fraudulent accounts and demand restitution. She pulled out a calculator and started running numbers. Based on what you've shown me, you've paid $67,400 in mortgage payments plus $8,000 in identity theft charges. $75,400 total. You could demand full restitution and walk away clean. What happens to her house? Without your financial support and with her real income level, she'll likely face foreclosure within 60 to 90 days. The bank won't modify the loan terms when they discover the original application contained false information. I thought about Jake's tear-streaked face about that turkey drawing in the trash about 20 months of watching my son being treated like an unwanted burden. How quickly can we start the withdrawal process? I can file the paperwork today. Your sister will receive notification within 72 hours. That afternoon, I sat Jake down for the most important conversation we'd had since Sarah died. I explained that some people take advantage of kindness, that family relationships should be built on love and respect, not money and obligation. I told him we were going to take a special trip, just the two of us, to remember how valuable he was. Where are we going, Dad? I pulled up photos of crystal blue water, white sand beaches, and tropical fish on my laptop. How do you feel about snorkeling in the Bahamas, buddy? His eyes went wide with excitement for the first time since Thanksgiving. Are you serious? We're really going to swim with fish. First-class flights, oceanfront resort, private snorkeling tours, and anything else you want to do. It's time someone invested in what really matters. I spent the next 3 hours booking the most expensive vacation of my life, a 4-star resort on Paradise Island, first-class flights, private tours, swimming with dolphins, deep-sea fishing, luxury dining and spa treatments for both of us. Total cost $24,000. Exactly what I'd normally spend on 9 months of Patricia's mortgage payments. The timing was perfect. I scheduled our departure for December 20th, right in the middle of Patricia's holiday financial stress. She'd received notice of my mortgage withdrawal on December 15th, giving her exactly 16 days to figure out how to make her December 31st payment without my help. While I planned our escape to paradise, Patricia kept calling with increasing urgency about holiday arrangements. She wanted me to host Christmas Eve dinner, contribute to gift exchanges, and pay for extended family hotel accommodations for relatives visiting from out of state. Each conversation revealed more of her entitlement mentality. Dwayne, I've been thinking, she said during one particularly galling phone call. Since you're doing so well financially, maybe you could help Roger and me add that deck we've been planning. It would be perfect for hosting summer family gatherings. The woman wanted me to finance home improvements on the house I was already paying for, a house where my son had been told he wasn't family. I'll think about it, I replied, knowing she'd never have to worry about deck additions after December 15th. On December 10th, I received my official credit report showing the fraudulent account activity. Patricia's spending pattern was educational luxury spa days, expensive dinners, shopping sprees at high-end department stores, and home improvement purchases. All charged to my credit while she pleaded poverty and asked for mortgage assistance. The most infuriating charge was from November 20th, 5 days before Thanksgiving. A $300 purchase at a high-end toy store, apparently buying expensive gifts for other family children, while treating my son like an outsider. December 12th brought an unexpected visitor. Patricia showed up at my house unannounced, holding a casserole dish and wearing her most manipulative smile. Jake was at a friend's house, so she didn't bother pretending to care about his existence. I brought your favorite green bean casserole, she announced, pushing past me into my kitchen. I've been thinking about Christmas planning, and I have some wonderful ideas for making this the best holiday ever. She spread papers across my counter, catering menus, decoration catalogs, gift lists that included expensive electronics for Roger and herself. The estimated cost for her wonderful ideas exceeded $5,000. This looks expensive, I observed. Well, you're the only one in the family with disposable income. Besides, it's for family. You understand family obligations, right? The irony was breathtaking. Family obligations from the woman who'd told my son he wasn't family. I'll definitely consider everything, I said, walking her toward the door. In fact, I'm making some major financial decisions right now that will affect all our future arrangements. She looked puzzled but didn't press for details. Just remember, the mortgage payment needs to be early this month. December 15th would be perfect. Oh, I'll remember, I assured her. December 15th is going to be very memorable. After she left, I called Jennifer Carlisle to confirm our timeline. All paperwork will be filed December 15th. Your sister should receive notification by December 18th. Your legal obligations end immediately. December 15th fell on a Friday. I submitted the final documents officially, withdrawing from Patricia's mortgage obligations and reporting the identity theft to 3 credit bureaus. By 5 o'clock that afternoon, Patricia's financial house of cards was collapsing, and she didn't even know it yet. Saturday morning, December 16th. I found a note taped to my front door, Patricia's handwriting increasingly desperate. "Dwayne, I've been calling all day. We need to discuss the mortgage payment immediately. This is urgent family business." I crumpled the note and threw it away. Family business would be handled in the Bahamas, where my actual family would be healing in paradise, while Patricia's world fell apart in Ohio. The most expensive lesson of her life was about to begin. Sunday, December 17th. My phone rang 11 times before noon, Patricia growing increasingly frantic about her mortgage payment. I let every call go to voicemail, each message more desperate than the last. "Dwayne, this isn't funny anymore. I need that mortgage payment transferred immediately." "Where are you? Roger says your car isn't in the driveway." "This is family emergency level urgent. Call me back right now." I was at Jake's travel clinic appointment getting our yellow fever and hepatitis vaccinations for tropical travel. Jake was so excited, he barely noticed the shots chattering about dolphins and coral reefs and whether we'd see sharks while snorkeling. "Dad, will the fish be all different colors like in the pictures?" "Even more colorful than the pictures, buddy. Wait until you see parrotfish and angelfish up close." Dr. Martinez handed us our vaccination certificates and travel health packets. "Sini. Enjoy the Bahamas, gentlemen. Perfect time of year to escape Ohio winter." Jake grinned and pressed his face against the clinic window, watching snow fall on Columbus traffic. No more snow for a whole week. Monday morning brought the legal notification Patricia had been dreading. Jennifer Carlisle called to confirm delivery of our mortgage withdrawal paperwork. "Your sister signed for the certified letter at 9:47 a.m. She should be reading it right about now." My phone started ringing at 10:15 and didn't stop for 3 hours. Patricia, then Roger, then Patricia. Again, then my parents, then Patricia's in-laws, then Patricia screaming voicemails that revealed her true character. "You can't just abandon family responsibilities. That mortgage has your name on it." This is financial blackmail over one stupid comment about turkey. Jake's not even your real son anyway. He's adopted, so stop acting like some protective father. That last voicemail made me save every recording. My adopted son was actually my biological child, but Patricia had been spreading lies about Jake's parentage to justify her cruelty. The depths of her deception were becoming clear. Tuesday brought home invasion-level desperation. Patricia and Roger showed up at my house at 6 a.m., pounding on doors and windows like debt collectors. I watched from my upstairs bedroom window as they circled my property, peering through windows and trying door handles. Jake woke up scared by the commotion. "Dad, why are they acting crazy?" Sometimes adults make bad choices and panic when consequences arrive. I explained, pulling curtains closed. "We're leaving for our trip tomorrow, and when we come back, things will be very different." I'd arranged for my neighbor Bob to house sit while we traveled specifically to prevent Patricia from breaking in or leaving threatening notes. Bob was a retired police sergeant who understood family drama and boundary enforcement. Wednesday, December 20th. We left for Columbus Airport at dawn. Jake carried his new underwater camera, determined to photograph every fish he'd encounter. Our first-class seats felt like throne chairs compared to coach, and Jake's amazement at the luxury treatment was worth every penny. "Dad, they brought me hot chocolate without me even asking, and these cookies are amazing." The flight attendant smiled at Jake's enthusiasm. "First time flying first class. First time flying anywhere we're going, swimming with dolphins." As our plane lifted off Ohio snow and headed toward tropical paradise, I felt the first real peace I'd experienced since Sarah died. Jake pressed his face to the window, watching America shrink below us, heading toward healing we both desperately needed. My phone buzzed with text messages from Patricia, increasingly unhinged. The bank called. They want the full December payment by Friday or they start foreclosure proceedings. Where the hell are you? This is family emergency. Roger's family won't lend us money because you've turned everyone against us. I'll report you for child abandonment if you don't come home immediately. I turned off my phone and focused on my son's joy. 3 hours later, we landed in Nassau to 82-degree sunshine and crystal blue water stretching to the horizon. Jake stepped off the plane and spread his arms wide. Dad, it smells like vacation. Our resort shuttle drove us along coastal roads where palm trees swayed in ocean breezes. Jake's nose stayed pressed to the window, taking in sights he'd only seen in pictures. Colorful houses, fishing boats, tropical flowers, and water so clear you could see the sandy bottom from 50 feet above. The Atlantis resort exceeded every expectation. Our ocean view suite had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Paradise Beach with Jake's bedroom connecting to mine through a shared balcony. He ran from room to room discovering luxury amenities and calling out each amazing feature. Dad, the bathroom has 2 sinks and a TV in the mirror. Dad, there's a refrigerator full of free drinks. Dad, you can see dolphins from our balcony. That first afternoon, we walked Paradise Beach collecting seashells and building sandcastles. Jake's happiness was infectious, drawing smiles from other resort guests and staff members who were charmed by his enthusiasm. Watching him laugh and run and play without the shadow of family rejection felt like watching him come back to life. Wednesday evening, I posted our first vacation photo on social media. Jake building a sandcastle at sunset, his smile radiant and genuine. The caption read, "Investing in what really matters. Family time with my amazing son." Within an hour, the photo had dozens of likes and comments from friends expressing surprise at our tropical getaway. Thursday morning brought adventure beyond Jake's wildest dreams. Our private snorkeling tour departed from the resort marina with Captain Marcus, a native Bahamian who specialized in family excursions. The boat ride to the coral reef took 30 minutes through water so clear it looked like swimming pool blue. "First time snorkeling, young man?" Captain Marcus asked Jake. "First time seeing fish that aren't in aquariums," Jake replied, adjusting his mask with serious concentration. When we slipped into the warm ocean water and Jake saw his first school of tropical fish, his muffled scream of excitement bubbled up through his snorkel. Yellow tangs, parrotfish, angelfish, and sergeant majors swirled around us in a living rainbow. Jake's underwater camera clicked constantly as he documented every fish encounter. Surface time meant sharing discoveries. "Dad, did you see the fish that looked like it was wearing makeup? Captain Marcus says that's a queen angelfish." Thursday evening's social media post showed Jake snorkeling with tropical fish, his thumbs up clearly visible underwater. Caption, "Teaching my son that the world is full of beautiful things when you know where to look." Comments poured in from extended family members, co-workers, and friends, all expressing amazement at our luxury vacation. Friday morning brought the phone call I'd been expecting. Patricia sobbing hysterically. "Dwayne, please. The bank is starting foreclosure Friday at 5 p.m. if we don't have $2,800. I'm begging you. I'll apologize to Jake. I'll make this right. Please, don't let us lose our house." I sat on our balcony watching Jake play in the resort pool with new friends he'd made, listening to my sister beg for mercy she'd never shown my son. "Patricia, where am I right now?" "I don't know. You disappeared without telling anyone." "I'm in the Bahamas with Jake. We're having the time of our lives and he hasn't asked about family once. Do you know why?" "Dwayne, please, we can discuss this when you get home." "Because real family doesn't make conditions for love. Real family doesn't tell 10-year-olds they're not worthy of turkey. Real family doesn't steal money and commit identity fraud." Silence. Then, "How did you find out about the credit card?" "Shucks. The same way I found out about Roger's promotion and bonus that you never mentioned. The same way I found out you've been lying about your finances while I paid your bills. The same way I discovered you've been telling people Jake isn't my biological son." More silence. Your mortgage payment is due in 6 hours, Patricia. I suggest you figure out where real family loyalty gets you. I hung up and posted Friday's photo, Jake swimming with dolphins at the resort's marine habitat. Pure joy radiating from every pixel. Caption: sometimes the best family moments happen when you're surrounded by people who actually want you there. The final battle was about to begin. Friday afternoon in the Bahamas felt like floating in a dream. Jake and I lounged on floating mats in the resort's adults-only pool, sharing virgin daiquiris and watching cruise ships navigate the harbor. The sun warmed our skin while cool trade winds kept us comfortable, a perfect contrast to the December snow blanketing Ohio. "Dad, do you think we could move here forever?" Jake asked, adjusting his new sunglasses that made him look like a miniature beach celebrity. "Would you miss Ohio winter?" I teased. "Are you kidding? I want to swim with fish every day instead of scraping ice off car windows." Jake had transformed during our 4 days in paradise. His shoulders had relaxed, his smile came easily, and he'd made friends with resort staff who treated him like visiting royalty. The head chef Antoine had taught him to make conch fritters. The activities director Maria had shown him how to identify different fish species. The lifeguards had unofficially adopted him as their mascot. Everyone loved Jake when they weren't poisoned by Patricia's toxic influence. Friday evening brought our sunset sailing excursion aboard a catamaran with 12 other resort guests. Jake positioned himself at the bow, wind whipping through his hair as he watched for dolphins in the crystal water. Captain Roberto taught him basic sailing terminology and let him help adjust the sails. "Your son has excellent sea legs," Roberto told me as Jake confidently moved around the deck. "Natural sailor. He's natural at a lot of things when people give him the chance." As the sun melted into the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, I posted our most spectacular photo. Yet Jake silhouetted against the sunset, arms raised in triumph as our catamaran sailed through paradise. Caption: teaching my son that he deserves beautiful experiences and people who celebrate his existence. The photo generated more engagement than anything I'd ever posted. Comments flooded in from high school friends, college roommates, work colleagues, and extended family members. Everyone wanted to know about our amazing vacation, how we'd managed such luxury, and when we'd planned this incredible getaway. More importantly, people were asking about Jake. "Your son looks so happy. What an adventure for a 10-year-old. You're creating memories that will last forever." My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Patricia's beside herself. She lost the house today. Bank took possession at 5 p.m. I think you've made your point." I hadn't made my point yet, not even close. Saturday brought our deep-sea fishing expedition aboard a 40-foot sport fishing boat with Captain Luis and his crew. Jake had never held a fishing rod designed for ocean fishing, and his excitement was contagious as we headed toward the Gulf Stream. "What kind of fish will we catch, Dad?" "Mahi, yellowfin, tuna, wahoo, maybe even a small marlin if we're lucky." Jake's first fish was a 3-foot mahi that fought like a champion. He battled it for 20 minutes with Captain Luis coaching his technique, finally bringing the beautiful dolphin fish to the boat amid cheers from the crew and other passengers. "Dad, did you see how hard it fought, and look at those colors?" The mahi-mahi's skin shifted through brilliant yellows, greens, and blues as it swam in the boat's live well. Jake insisted on taking dozens of photos before Captain Luis released it back to the ocean. In Bahamian tradition, releasing your first ocean fish brings good luck for life, Captain Luis explained. "I could use some good luck," Jake said seriously. "My friend, any young man who fights fish this well already has more luck than he knows." Saturday evening's social media post showed Jake holding his fighting rod bent into a dramatic curve as he battled his mahi-mahi. Caption: watching my son discover his own strength in paradise. Some battles are worth fighting, and some fish are worth releasing. That post triggered the phone call that would change everything. Dwayne. Patricia's voice was shrill with panic and fury. "How can you afford this? A week in the Bahamas must cost $20,000, first-class flights, luxury resort. All these activities. Where did this money come from? I was sitting on our balcony watching Jake organize his seashell collection by size and color. The kid had developed a systematic approach to everything since arriving in paradise, including cataloging his vacation treasures. Easy, I replied calmly. I paused paying your mortgage. The silence stretched for nearly 30 seconds. When Patricia found her voice, it came out as a strangled whisper. What did you just say? You heard me correctly. 18 months of mortgage payments equals one incredible vacation with my son. Turns out your house payments were the perfect budget for creating actual family memories. Dwayne, you can't be serious. We lost everything yesterday. Roger and I had to move in with his parents. Their apartment only has one bedroom and his mother hates me. We're sleeping on a pull-out couch. Where you're sleeping isn't my concern anymore, Patricia. But family helps family. You can't just abandon us over one stupid comment. Jake looked up from his shells, hearing the raised voice through my phone. I smiled at him and gave a thumbs up, letting him know everything was fine. He grinned and returned to his organizing project. One stupid comment, I repeated. Patricia, you've been treating my son like garbage for 3 years. You've stolen my money, committed identity theft, lied about your finances, and told a grieving 10-year-old that he's not family. This isn't about one comment. This is about patterns of abuse that I should have stopped years ago. He's not even your real son, she screamed. Why are you destroying your actual family for some adopted brats? Jake is my biological son, Patricia. Sarah never adopted anyone. You've been spreading lies about my child's parentage to justify your cruelty. But thank you for providing such clear evidence of your real character. I'd been recording the conversation on my backup phone, capturing every word of her meltdown for future reference. Look, she said, switching to her manipulation voice. I know I've made mistakes, but we're family. Blood means something. You can't let your own sister become homeless. Blood means nothing without love and respect. Jake learned that lesson at your Thanksgiving table. I'll apologize. I'll make it up to him. With what money you're sleeping on your in-law's couch because you spent 3 years stealing from me instead of building your own financial stability. Sunday morning brought our most magical experience, yet swimming with wild dolphins in open ocean. Our boat anchored near Dolphin Cay, where a pod of Atlantic spotted dolphins regularly played with snorkeling tourists. Jake slipped into the warm water, wearing his mask and fins floating quietly as instructed, while waiting for dolphin encounters. The first dolphin approached him slowly, curious about this small human floating peacefully in its domain. Jake remained perfectly still as the dolphin circled him, clicked its sonar, and brushed against his arm with gentle curiosity. 3 more dolphins joined the interaction, turning Jake's swim into an underwater ballet. When we surfaced, Jake was speechless with wonder. Tears of joy streamed down his face as he treaded water next to me. Dad, they touched me. They wanted to play with me. Did you see how gentle they were? I saw everything, buddy. They recognized something special in you. Sunday evening's post was our masterpiece underwater video of Jake swimming peacefully with wild dolphins, their graceful forms creating a living circle around my son. Caption: My son learning that respect and gentleness attract beautiful creatures. Some beings recognize your worth immediately. The video went viral within hours. Hundreds of shares, thousands of likes, comments pouring in from people around the world who were touched by the pure magic of a child connecting with wild dolphins. More importantly, extended family members began reaching out privately, asking questions about our vacation, about Jake's happiness, and about the family dynamics they were suddenly seeing clearly. My cousin Jennifer called Sunday night Dwayne. I had no idea Patricia was treating Jake badly. Looking at these photos, I can see how happy he is with you. What really happened at Thanksgiving? I explained the turkey incident, the years of subtle rejection, the financial abuse, and the identity theft. One by one, family members were learning the truth Patricia had hidden behind her victim narrative. Monday morning brought our final day in paradise and the most important phone call of the entire ordeal. Roger called at sunrise, his voice broken and desperate. Dwayne, Patricia's in the hospital. She had a complete breakdown yesterday when she realized we can't get another house without your co-signature. She's talking about losing everything that matters. Please, I'm begging you, help us figure out how to fix this. I watched Jake sleeping peacefully in his bed, seashells arranged on his nightstand like treasures, his underwater camera ready for our final snorkeling session. Roger, what matters to Patricia really matters. Her house, her status, I don't know her position in the family. What about Jake? Does Jake matter to her? Long silence. I think she's jealous of how much you love him. I think Sarah's death made her feel like she had to compete for your attention, and Jake reminded her that she was losing. Finally, someone was telling the truth. Roger, I spent $75,000 on Patricia's lifestyle while she emotionally abused my grieving son. That money is gone forever, just like my trust in her. But Jake and I are building something better. What do you want us to do? Learn to live within your means. Get counseling for Patricia's jealousy and cruelty. Figure out how to rebuild relationships you've damaged. And never ever make my son feel unwanted again. Monday afternoon, Jake and I took our final swim in paradise. He floated on his back, staring up at cloudless blue sky, processing the week that had changed both our lives. Dad, when we go home, will things be different? Very different, buddy. Some people might not be in our lives anymore. Some people might treat us better. And you and I will remember that we don't need anyone's permission to be family. Monday evening's final post was simple. Jake and me walking hand in hand along Paradise Beach at sunset, our silhouettes dark against the glowing sky. Caption: coming home with clear priorities and unshakable confidence in what family really means. The war was over. We'd won more than I'd ever imagined possible. Tuesday morning, December 26th. We landed in Columbus to 6 inches of fresh snow and 17-degree temperatures. Jake's tan stood out dramatically in the gray Ohio winter as we collected our luggage, both of us moving a little slower after a week of paradise time. Dad, Ohio feels like a different planet, Jake observed, watching his breath form clouds in the airport parking garage. That's because we've been living on a different planet, buddy. Now we get to decide which planet we want to call home. The drive back to Marysville took us past Patricia's former house. I slowed down deliberately so Jake could see the foreclosure signs posted in the front yard, the empty driveway where her Lexus used to park, the dark windows that had once hosted family gatherings where he wasn't welcome. Is that Aunt Patricia's house? Jake asked. It was, not anymore. Where does she live now? With Roger's parents, in a one-bedroom apartment. Jake processed this information quietly, watching the empty house disappear in our rearview mirror. Dad, do you think she's sad? I think she's learning that actions have consequences. We arrived home to find 17 messages on my answering machine, 12 voicemails on my cell phone, and a stack of handwritten notes taped to my front door. Patricia's increasingly desperate attempts to reach me during our final days in paradise. Each message more unhinged than the last. Bob, my house-sitting neighbor, approached as we unloaded suitcases. Dwayne, that sister of yours has been a real problem. She tried breaking in twice, left threatening notes, and called the police, claiming you'd kidnapped Jake. I had to show them your travel itinerary to prove you were on a legal vacation with your own son. Thanks for holding down the fort, Bob. Any time, but I'd be careful around her. She's not thinking clearly. That afternoon, my parents arrived for an emergency family meeting they'd scheduled without consulting me. Jake was upstairs organizing his seashell collection and vacation photos. So I met them in my living room, where Dad immediately launched into Patricia's defense. Son, I understand you're angry about Thanksgiving, but destroying your sister's life seems excessive. She's in the psychiatric ward at Riverside Hospital. Roger says she's talking about suicide. I'd prepared for this conversation during our flight home. Dad, did Patricia tell you about the identity theft, the $8,000 in credit card debt she ran up in my name? Mom's face went pale. What are you talking about? I spread financial documents across my coffee table, bank statements, credit reports, legal paperwork, recorded phone conversations. 20 months of evidence showing Patricia's systematic theft and manipulation. She's been stealing from me while I paid her mortgage. She lied about Roger's promotion and bonus. She committed identity fraud. And she's been emotionally abusing Jake for 3 years while taking my money. Dad picked up the credit card statements, his expression shifting from defensive to horrified as he read through luxury purchases made with stolen credit. $67,000 in mortgage payments plus $8,000 in identity theft. I continued. $75,000 total. More money than I spent on Sarah's cancer treatments. Mom started crying. Dwayne, we didn't know. Patricia told us you were being generous because you had so much money. I was being generous. She was being criminal. But suicide, son, Dad said quietly. If she hurts herself over this. Patricia attempted suicide before she met Roger, twice. This is her pattern when consequences catch up with manipulation. Roger knows this, the hospital knows this, and I'm not responsible for managing her mental health anymore. Wednesday morning brought the confrontation I'd been expecting. Patricia's in-laws. Roger's parents, Herbert and Martha, arrived at my door demanding I fix the situation and take responsibility for family destruction. You've ruined their lives over one comment at Thanksgiving, Martha announced, pushing past me into my living room. Patricia's in the hospital. They're homeless and Roger might lose his job from stress. All because you're oversensitive about your adopted son. Jake was at school, thankfully. I wouldn't have wanted him to hear adults discussing him like a burden again. Martha, Jake isn't adopted. He's my biological son. Patricia's been spreading lies to justify her cruelty. Well, regardless, you can't destroy family over one incident. I pulled out my laptop and played recordings from our Bahamas phone conversations, letting Martha hear Patricia's real voice. He's not even your real son. And why are you destroying your actual family for some adopted brats? Herbert's jaw tightened as he heard his daughter-in-law's venom. Patricia said those things. Patricia has said much worse for 3 years. While I paid her bills, Martha's defense crumbled as she heard the financial details, the identity theft, the hidden promotion, the luxury purchases made with stolen credit. When I showed them photos of Patricia's social media posts showing expensive purchases and vacations all funded by money she claimed not to have, Martha stopped talking entirely. What do you want from us? Herbert asked finally. Nothing. I want Patricia to get psychiatric help for her jealousy and manipulation issues. I want Roger to take financial responsibility for his own life, and I want both of them to stay away from Jake until they can treat him with basic human respect. Wednesday evening brought the phone call that would change our family dynamics forever. My brother Michael, Patricia's twin, called from Arizona where he'd been following our vacation on social media. Dwayne, I need to apologize. Patricia's been telling us for 3 years that you were struggling financially and emotionally after Sarah's death. She said Jake was having behavioral problems and you needed family support. She painted herself as the stable sibling helping you through crisis. What made you realize she was lying? $24,000 Bahamas vacation. If you're struggling financially, that trip is impossible. If Jake's having behavioral problems, he wouldn't look that happy in every photo. Patricia's stories never made sense, but we believed family. What stories specifically? That you were drinking heavily, that Jake was violent at school, that you'd been borrowing money from her to cover basic expenses, that Sarah left debt you couldn't handle. All lies, apparently. I spent an hour explaining the real situation to Michael, the mortgage payments, the identity theft, the emotional abuse of Jake, the systematic manipulation and financial exploitation. My brother listened in growing horror. Dwayne, if we'd known the truth, we would have stopped this years ago. Patricia convinced us that helping her was helping you indirectly. How did she explain my financial support? She said you felt guilty about not being there during Dad's heart surgery, so you were overcompensating with money. We thought it was temporary. Dad had heart surgery last year. Patricia said you were too busy with work to visit, so she handled everything. We thought you were being selfish. Another lie. Patricia had never told me about Dad's heart problems preventing me from being there during a family medical emergency while painting me as an absent son. The depth of her deception was breathtaking. Thursday morning brought the final confrontation. Patricia herself released from psychiatric hold, standing on my doorstep in clothes that looked like she'd slept in them, her hair unwashed and her eyes red from crying. Please, Dwayne, I'll do anything. Therapy, community service, financial counseling, anything. Just help us get back on our feet. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. This conversation wouldn't happen where Jake might overhear. Patricia, you stole $75,000 from me. You emotionally abused my son. You committed identity fraud. You've been lying to our entire family for 3 years. What exactly do you think anything could possibly fix? I was jealous, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. After Sarah died, you became this perfect single father, and everyone talked about how strong you were, how well you were handling everything. I felt invisible. Roger and I were struggling, and you seemed to have unlimited money and everyone's admiration. So you decided to steal my money and abuse my child. I wanted you to need me. I wanted to be important to someone in this family. Mom and Dad always loved you more, and after Sarah died, Jake got all the sympathy and attention. I felt like nobody cared if I existed. For the first time in 3 years, Patricia was telling the truth. Ugly, selfish truth about jealousy and insecurity, but truth nonetheless. Patricia, Jake lost his mother. A 10-year-old child needed sympathy and attention. You're a 35-year-old adult who should have been supporting him, not competing with him. I know, and I'm sorry. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to him. No, you won't. You'll spend the rest of your life staying away from him until you can treat him like the nephew he deserves to be treated as. What do you want me to do? Get intensive therapy for your jealousy and manipulation issues. Pay back the $8,000 you stole through identity theft. Build your own financial independence without my support. And prove through actions, not words, that you've changed. How long will that take? As long as it takes. Maybe years, maybe never. Depends on whether you actually change or just wait for me to forget. Patricia cried harder, realizing the magnitude of what she'd lost. I've destroyed everything, haven't I? You've destroyed your relationship with Jake and me. Whether you can rebuild something honest remains to be seen. Thursday afternoon. Jake came home from his first day back at school glowing with confidence. His tan, his stories about swimming with dolphins, and his new collection of seashells had made him the most popular kid in 4th grade. Dad, everyone wants to see my underwater pictures. Mrs. Henderson asked if I could give a presentation about marine life. That sounds perfect, buddy. And Tommy invited me to his birthday party this weekend. His mom said any kid brave enough to swim with sharks must be pretty cool. Did you swim with sharks? Well, nurse sharks, but I didn't mention they're basically underwater puppies. That evening we sat in Jake's room looking through vacation photos on his computer, reliving our week in paradise. In every image, Jake looked confident, happy, and genuinely loved. The contrast with old family photos was striking. Dad, when people ask about our family now, what should I tell them? Tell them our family is you and me, and anyone else who treats us with love and respect earns a place at our table. What about Aunt Patricia? What about her? Do you think she'll ever be nice to me? I don't know, Jake, but I know that you don't need her to be nice to you. You're an amazing kid, whether she recognizes it or not. Jake nodded thoughtfully. The dolphins recognized it immediately. Yes, they did. And that's the kind of recognition that matters. Friday brought news that would reshape our family permanently. Roger called to inform me that he and Patricia were separating. His parents had given them an ultimatum: get marriage counseling and individual therapy, or find somewhere else to live. Patricia won't admit she has a problem, Roger explained. She keeps saying this is all your fault for overreacting. She can't see that she destroyed our marriage by stealing from family and abusing your son. What are you going to do? Individual therapy for myself. Figure out how I enabled her behavior for so long. Try to rebuild relationships with your family that I helped damage. And Patricia. She's moving in with her friend Monica in Cincinnati. Says she needs space from everyone who's turned against her. Patricia was choosing exile over accountability, blame over responsibility. It was the final proof that she hadn't changed at all. The war was truly over, and Jake and I had won everything that mattered. 6 months later, on a warm Saturday afternoon in June, I stood in my backyard watching Jake teach his new best friend Connor how to identify seashells from our Bahamas collection. The transformation in my son was remarkable. Confident shoulders, easy laughter, and the kind of security that comes from knowing you're unconditionally loved. "This one's a conch shell," Jake explained to Connor, holding up his prized specimen. "My dad and I found it while snorkeling with parrotfish. The fish weren't scared of us because we moved really slowly and didn't try to grab them." "That's so cool. My family never goes anywhere except camping at Alum Creek." "Camping's awesome too. Dad says we're going to Yellowstone this summer to see bears and geysers." I smiled, remembering how Jake used to speak hesitantly around new people, always worried about saying the wrong thing or being rejected. Now he shared his experiences with the confidence of a child who knew his worth. Our life had transformed completely since that December confrontation. The money I'd been wasting on Patricia's mortgage was now building Jake's college fund and financing real family experiences. We'd taken 3 weekend trips to Chicago, Washington, D.C., and Mammoth Cave, with Jake documenting each adventure like a professional travel photographer. More importantly, our extended family relationships had been rebuilt on honest foundations. My parents visited every other weekend, bringing genuine interest in Jake's school projects and hobbies. My brother Michael had flown in from Arizona twice, creating uncle memories that Jake treasured. Even some of Patricia's former allies had reached out to apologize and establish authentic relationships with us. The legal aftermath had been straightforward. Patricia never contested the identity theft charges, accepting a restitution agreement that required her to pay back the $8,000 over 2 years. Her first payment had arrived on schedule each month, suggesting she was finally taking responsibility for her actions. Patricia herself remained in Cincinnati working as a receptionist at a dental office and supposedly attending weekly therapy sessions. Roger had moved to an apartment in Marysville and was slowly rebuilding his relationship with our family through consistent respect for Jake and genuine remorse for his enabling behavior. "Uncle Roger's coming to my birthday party next month," Jake told Connor proudly. "He's teaching me how to change bicycle tires and fix flat chains." Roger had earned his way back into Jake's life through patient consistency and genuine interest in Jake's happiness. He never mentioned Patricia or made excuses for past behavior, focusing instead on being the uncle Jake deserved. The most meaningful change was in Jake's relationship with his own worth. He no longer asked anxious questions about belonging or acceptance. He didn't flinch when adults used the word family around him. He'd learned to recognize authentic care versus obligatory politeness, gravitating toward people who celebrated rather than tolerated his presence. "Dad," Jake said one evening as we reviewed photos from our latest weekend adventure, "remember when Aunt Patricia said turkey was for family?" "I remember. I'm glad we left. Not because I wanted her to lose her house, but because I learned something important." "What did you learn?" "Real family doesn't make you prove you belong. You either belong or you don't, and the right people know immediately." At 10 years old, my son had grasped wisdom that many adults never learn. The financial education had been equally valuable. Jake now understood money as a tool for creating experiences and security, not a weapon for controlling relationships. He'd watched me choose his emotional well-being over family obligations, learning that love requires boundaries and self-respect demands consequences. "When I grow up," he announced during one of our dinner conversations, "I'm going to take my kids on adventures like we go on, but first I want to make sure I can afford it with my own money." "Why your own money specifically?" Because money you earn yourself can't be taken away by people who don't really care about you. Jake had learned financial independence at 10 years old, a lesson that would protect him for life. July brought an unexpected phone call that would test everything we'd built. Patricia calling for the first time since our December confrontation, her voice tentative and uncertain. "Dwayne, I know I don't have the right to ask, but could I see Jake on his birthday? Just for a few minutes, I have a gift for him and I wanted to apologize properly." I looked across the room where Jake was reading a book about marine biology, completely absorbed in learning about coral reef ecosystems. "Jake, your Aunt Patricia wants to see you on your birthday. She says she has an apology and a gift. What do you think, eh?" Jake considered this carefully, closing his book and giving the question serious thought. "Is she going to be mean again?" "I don't know. That's why I'm asking what you want to do." "Can you stay with me if she comes over?" "Absolutely." "Okay, but if she says anything mean, we're done forever." I relayed Jake's conditions to Patricia, a short visit in my presence, with zero tolerance for manipulation or conditional statements. "I understand," she said quietly. "Thank you for giving me a chance." Patricia arrived on Jake's 11th birthday, looking genuinely different. Humble posture, simple clothing, and none of the entitled attitude that had characterized our previous interactions. She carried a small wrapped package and spoke directly to Jake with obvious nervousness. "Jake, I owe you an apology that's 3 years overdue. I was jealous and cruel, and I made you feel unwanted when you needed family support the most. Nothing I say can undo the damage I caused, but I want you to know that my behavior was about my problems, not about anything wrong with you." Jake listened seriously, evaluating her words with the careful attention he'd learned to apply to adult promises. "I brought you something that I hope shows how sorry I am." She handed him the package with trembling hands. Inside was a leather-bound photo album titled Jake's Adventures, with pictures Patricia had collected from our social media posts. Jake snorkeling with dolphins, building sandcastles, catching fish, swimming in paradise, and smiling with pure joy in every image. "I wanted you to have proof that you deserve beautiful experiences and people who celebrate your happiness," she explained, tears flowing freely. "I spent 6 months putting this together because I wanted to show you that even when I was being terrible, you were always worthy of wonderful things." Jake flipped through the album, slowly studying pictures that documented his journey from rejection to confidence. "Thank you," he said simply. "This is really nice." "Jake, do you think someday you might be able to forgive me?" "Not today. Maybe not this year, but someday." "I forgive you now," Jake replied with startling maturity. "But forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. If you're mean again, I'll remember both times." Patricia nodded, understanding the boundaries Jake had learned to set. "I'm in therapy twice a week and I'm learning why I acted so badly. I hope someday I can earn the right to be your aunt properly." "We'll see," Jake said, closing the album and setting it carefully on his shelf. After Patricia left, Jake and I talked about second chances, conditional forgiveness, and the difference between earned trust and demanded acceptance. "Dad, do you think people can really change?" "Some people can if they're willing to do the hard work and accept responsibility for the damage they've caused. But change has to be proven through actions over time, not just promised with words." "How long does it take to prove change?" "As long as it takes. Some people never prove it." That conversation led to our most important family rule. Everyone earns their place at our table through consistent respect and genuine care. Blood relation provides opportunity, not automatic access. As summer turned to fall, Jake and I established traditions that would define our family for years to come. Monthly father-son adventures, whether camping trips or museum visits or simply exploring local hiking trails. Annual tropical vacations to places where Jake could pursue his growing passion for marine biology. Regular conversations about values, boundaries, and the importance of surrounding ourselves with people who appreciated, rather than tolerated, our presence. Jake's 11th birthday party was attended by 12 friends from school, 4 family members who had earned their invitations through consistent kindness, and Roger, who had become the uncle Jake deserved. No one asked about Patricia's absence because everyone understood that family gatherings should include people who made children feel celebrated. Looking back on that Thanksgiving dinner 18 months ago, I realized Patricia had given Jake and me the greatest gift possible: clarity about who we could trust and what we would no longer accept. Her cruelty had forced us to choose ourselves over dysfunctional family loyalty, leading to healing we might never have achieved otherwise. The turkey was never meant for Jake at Patricia's table, but the lesson learned was worth more than any meal. True family doesn't exclude. It embraces unconditionally. Real love doesn't require you to earn your place. It saves your seat without being asked. Jake learned he deserved respect, adventure, and people who celebrated his existence. I learned that protecting my son's emotional well-being was worth any financial cost or family disruption. Together we learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away from people who don't know how to love properly. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and protecting someone you love? How do you balance forgiveness with setting boundaries that prevent future harm? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because these situations are never easy, and sometimes we all need to hear how others have navigated similar challenges. If this story resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more real-life stories about family dynamics and personal growth, and share it with anyone who might benefit from knowing they're not alone in dealing with difficult family relationships. Thank you for listening to our journey, and remember that you deserve to be surrounded by people who celebrate your worth, not question it.